Thank you, Nigel and Willow, and welcome to all of you. It is so exciting for all of us to see you here and to welcome you once again into this very special and very much lifelong community of Morehead-Cain scholars. It is our tradition at the Fall Banquet to always hear from a senior scholar. And we have the joy this evening of, it's a big night for Kansas tonight. For the second time this evening, we have the opportunity to invite up someone from Kansas. In this case, it is someone who is a lover of World's Fairs, someone who is proudly Team Fresno, someone who is a cancer survivor, and someone who brings joy into our offices every time she pays us a visit. That someone, of course, is Sarah Chocron from Wichita, Kansas. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your remarks with your classmates this evening.
Thank you guys for an incredible introduction. Welcome all of you, but welcome especially to the newest members of our Morehead-Cain family, the class of 2028 and the sophomore intake class of 2027. Let's hear it one more time for them, please. I've already fumbled. My name is Sarah Chocron, and I'm a member of the class of 2025, and it is such a joy to be speaking before you tonight. I want to start this speech by thanking everyone who made this evening possible, most notably the staff and kitchen at the Carolina Club, without whom this evening would not happen. Let's give them a round of applause. I want to thank the members of the Morehead-Cain Board of Trustees and alumni for being in attendance, and to the incredible Morehead-Cain staff and team, from communications to advancement and to, of course, advising. You are all the reason this program works and thrives. Lastly, I want to thank you all, from freshmen to seniors, for being here tonight and for making this community what it is. It is such an immense honor to have been asked to speak tonight, and while I wish I could tell you that I was rushing between high-level classes and high-caliber meetings when I received the call from Julie DeVoe to be this year's speaker, I was in fact getting my nails done, and in my furtive attempt to answer my phone with wet nail polish, I was genuinely taken aback by the task at hand. To be chosen for this was so shocking and unreal because mostly it is not lost on me how far I have come and how much was sacrificed for me to be here. I grew up between Montreal, Canada, and Wichita, Kansas, two very unlike places that allowed me to flourish and grow with the indelible notion that I was capable of doing what I set my mind to, as affirmed by my incredible mentors, teachers, coaches, friends, and family throughout the years. It is now lost on me the statistical miracle that a girl from Canada and Kansas, the granddaughter of a man whose highest education was 6th grade, is before you today with a scholarship at this country's first public university. And perhaps most importantly, it is not lost on me that my parents left their own country of Morocco to seize their very own education when they were only 17 years old, and that they sacrificed so much so that I could have the very best education and life possible. I am forever and continually indebted to them for being the reason I'm here today. Tonight, I want to share 4 lessons with you that represent, as you might guess, my 4 years at Carolina. Certainly, these stories are not a prescription or must-dos for success. I'm still finding my way, and I'm far from understanding what it means to have made it or to be successful. Rather, I hope you will find some helpful insights, maybe some consolation, and if I'm really lucky, a glimmer of hope among what can be a really challenging but deeply rewarding journey here at Carolina. My first year at UNC was, without a doubt, as many of you might empathize with, a year of unbridled chaos and experimentation. I came in declaring a major in computer science that I never even started before switching to something else. I've added and dropped more minors than I can count, but this, let me assure you, is a normal and encouraged process that is deeply emblematic of the freshman experience. In freshman year, economics majors turn to journalism, public policy majors find a knack for environmental sciences, and UNC chemistry classes change the path for many. The inescapable changes that you will experience in your freshman year and beyond will implore you to wrestle with your perfectionism and your intrinsic motivations. I think in many ways, I grew up paralyzed by perfectionism. My high school self could not handle experimentation. I was not brave enough to join classes that would not serve my resume, too anxious to do activities for fun, and most importantly, I was always afraid I was not doing enough. When I received the Morehead-Cain scholarship in May of 2021, I made a promise to try, as best I could, to be brave in my curiosity, and to not let my or others' preconceived notions of what I should be doing dictate my path forward. It is a promise that has continually served me well. It is in fact a random history gen ed entitled Magic Prague that is undoubtedly the reason I'm a history major, and it was a lecture on the semiotics of traffic signals that fully pushed me towards my information science major. The gift of financial freedom in so many ways is the ability to make choices that are entirely determined by your desire to learn for the sake of learning, and it is the freedom to let yourself be the guide in determining the outcomes of this education. The lesson of my first year was unequivocally to be brave in my curiosity and embrace the unlikely path. I encourage you to take the foreign language that will guide you to a semester abroad, take ballroom dancing, attend a poetry lecture, take a course on crime fiction in Angola or time and metaphysics, not because you have to fulfill requirements, but because you can. To be engaged in scholarship, as our community standards invoke, one must have the courage to let questions and wonderings shine the light forward. The imperative of this scholarship is to discover, explore, and engage with your academics and extracurriculars in a way that is genuine and intentional. This campus is a treasure trove of happenings, and it only takes your willingness to go and cover it. Try to look beyond your resume and your LinkedIn, be whimsical, let yourself wonder, and let this school and this campus be the vessel for those wonderings. My second year at Carolina was in so many ways a crash course in being a leader. It was about this time that I started taking on new leadership roles, both at work and through a new club I had restarted with fellow scholar Urado Agada. Together, we worked to make our club, Project Literacy, an active committee of the Campus Y, and as such, became a part of a larger group of student organizations in the Campus Y's cabinet. It was then that I witnessed the various styles of leadership by other students and was particularly struck by scholar Eleanor Bolton and the way she led by listening in all facets of her leadership. As a remarkable advocate for disability rights on our campus, Eleanor consistently finds it in herself to affirm others and listen truly and intently, making her, as many of you know, an extraordinary leader and friend. I likewise came to know many student service partners at the Jackson Center, a community center on Rosemary Street that takes it in its ethos to listen intently to the needs of Northside neighbors. Through my service education there, I learned that advocacy is often best done silently, nodding and acknowledging rather than necessarily taking action. It became clear to me that I still had so much to learn, that to be a great student leader, I need to become more in tune with the needs of students and truly listen rather than talk, which is something that is dawning on me as deeply ironic as I'm talking your ears off. The lesson of my sophomore year was that I should consistently aspire to lead by listening. And as such, student leadership must begin with an open ear. This is certainly an ongoing lesson, and one that consistently proves to be humbling at every turn. While leadership as a lifelong journey can feel like a call to action, I implore you to see it as a call to listen every day and to sit still as you do so. The greatest leaders on this campus often don't have a title or a club position, but what they certainly hold is the ability to listen intently and fully and make others feel heard and understood. It is with such a skill that we make UNC a better place than when we started, and an inspiring place to learn and grow. My sophomore year taught me that this collective act of listening is nothing short of revolutionary, especially in light of the environments of polarization we often find ourselves in. But before I even got to my junior year at Carolina, I was planning on doing my professional experience summer out in Santa Fe, New Mexico, working as a digital archivist for a local art gallery. It was the dream internship at the intersection of my interest in the humanities and the sciences. Planes were booked, housing was confirmed, and in short, everything was set for a perfect summer. But before I even got to Santa Fe, my doctor back home found a 6-centimeter nodule on my thyroid. And as I sat there in the doctor's office, biopsy needles in my neck, I remember feeling absolutely powerless and afraid of the unknown of my situation. What if I have cancer? How will I navigate school while pursuing treatment? Will I have to do egg retrieval so I can have kids one day? How will I tell my friends? Will I lose my hair? How do I move forward? A week later, I would receive the diagnosis of stage 2 papillary thyroid cancer, and my world was in fact flipped upside down. With the word malignant came hundreds of milligrams of medication, the necessary refusal of the internship, surgery, stress, and a jarring move back home for the summer. Nothing about being sick in my 20s, a time where you're supposed to be invincible and reckless, made sense. And most of all, among the seeming helplessness of my situation, I yearned to have a purpose, or simply to have something to do. With this purpose in mind, I found a part-time job at a cemetery, working as a systems analyst. That work experience would end up being the most meaningful work of my college career. It was through working at a cemetery that I fully actualized my desire to use technology to serve cultural institutions and saw information science for the first time as a tool of meaningful remembrance as well as innovation. Most notably, by witnessing the mundane courage of people amidst tragedy, people who were going through infinitely difficult situations, far worse than I, with such grace and humility, I understood the remarkable ways one can enact resilience and gratitude despite the unluckiness that beholds them. The improbable experience of working in a cemetery while fighting cancer, of facing my own mortality in my diagnosis and in my work, taught me to find humor, grace, and gratitude to move through hardship. Through that summer, I had long FaceTime calls with fellow scholars Kendall Lee and Neha Sagi, who helped me to move through this hardship and find the silver, humorous lining in this bizarre life experience. While I think the fears and questions about the unknown future of my diagnosis remain present, I remain eternally grateful for the support and laughter I experienced that summer and continually as I navigate this disease. The lesson of my third year of college was to find gratitude among the hardships. It may seem ridiculous to feel any ounce of gratitude when things are difficult, especially when you're a cancer patient, but the truth of the matter is that this mindset was my singular salvation. As a cynic in so many ways, I find that hope, the ability to simply not resign yourself to the way things are, is perhaps the only guarantee we have when aspiring for change. As student leaders, we are often faced with unlikely circumstances and improbable setbacks that make it difficult to move forward. However, if there's anything I have learned, both in leadership and in my personal medical experience, it is that centering gratitude, having the ability to laugh a little, to take criticism with grace rather than as an admonishment, and to find hope in the thick of it all can be a changing practice that transformed the course of my junior year at Carolina. The start of my final year at UNC has brought a tremendous amount of loss and grief, specifically for our scholar community. August ended with the passing of David Nicholson, my dear friend who began his journey at Carolina among the class of 2025. I met David when I was placed in Fresno, California with Asher Wexler and Eliza Van Lockeren for our civic collaboration summer. He was, for lack of a better term, poetry bottled up. He often made me laugh to the point of tears. He was an artist of words and music. He was kind. He was deeply moved by human suffering, and he lived by his principles till his last breath. David, as many of you know, was unlike anyone else, a living embodiment of hard work and whimsy, but more than anyone I knew, he recognized society's outcasts and sought to make them cognizant of the love they deserved and were endowed with. He loved boysenberry jam. He loved skateboarding, perhaps too much. He loved to surf and play guitar. He gave the best hugs. And he made Fresno for Asher, Eliza, and myself home. His death has profoundly shattered me, and I truly, truly miss him with every passing day. A month later, precisely to the day, we lost another member of our scholar community, Brooke Chevrant of the class of 2026. While I regrettably never got to meet Brooke in my time at Carolina, I am continually made aware of the lasting impact of her kindness and selflessness in her too brief 20 years of life. In conversation with some of her friends and scholars who knew and loved her, it is clear to me that Brooke lived with urgency and profound consideration of paying forward all that she received back to her hometown in Western North Carolina. She led with passion and a blaring yet infectious sense of optimism and made her friends feel listened to and heard. She loved the stars and the planets, loved long runs, the farther the better, was deeply connected to the natural world and our environment, and her passing is continually felt with every starry night and every person in this room and beyond who was touched by her incredible spirit. I would likewise be remiss not to mention the loss and devastation that is still being felt after Hurricane Helene, especially for communities like those in Brooke's hometown in Western North Carolina. I'm deeply cognizant that whole towns no longer exist, that the livelihoods and homes of so many in our states have been destroyed, and that it will take months and if not years to repair all the damage that has been done. For those who have and continue to be affected by this ongoing devastation, you are continually in my thoughts and in my prayers. While I don't know how to effectively navigate this overwhelming feeling of loss, I know the following. In these times of uncertainty and grief, it is vitally important to be present for one another. The loss of David and Brooke have shown me that love and support can look like flowers on your doorstep, coffee and catching up, a hug, a text, or a meal shared together, because ultimately, to be known, loved, and remembered is to be fed. Commit yourself to community. Commit yourself to this community now more than ever. The lesson of my 4th year of university is that it is our moral imperative, especially in trying times like these, to be present for one another. I may not know how to navigate the nonlinear experience of grief, and I will not pretend to understand all that you have traversed to be here. But I know that the ways that you have been present, the notes you have left for each other in the foundation, the texts you have sent, the phone calls you have made, the hugs and meals shared, and the donations you have paid forward have made a true difference. Be present for one another, however that looks like for you, because your well-being and the well-being of this program depends on it. To commit to community, the last of our community standards, is the idea that support for each other does not go unnoticed, and that being present for each other is perhaps the most impactful thing you can do during your time at Carolina. For the class of 2028 and our new intake class in the class of 2027 especially, I implore you to be brave in your curiosity, to lead by listening, to find gratitude in the hardships, and most importantly, to be present for each other. As we remember those we have lost, I encourage you to embody their memory for the betterment of this community and this university at large, for them and for yourself. I will end by quoting the words of Jodi Picoult, who wrote that heroes didn't leap tall buildings or stop bullets with an outstretched hand. They didn't wear boots and capes. They bled and they bruised, and their superpowers were as simple as listening or loving. Heroes were ordinary people who knew that even if their own lives were impossibly knotted, they could untangle someone else's. And maybe that one act could lead someone to rescue you right back. Thank you.